On her coming-of-age day, every Sioux girl strips down completely, then puts on a bikini passed down from their grandmother. After that, she's taken into a high-tech room and laid inside a cryo chamber. She stays there for 3 whole days and nights. This bizarre ritual is supposed to summon their ancestor's spirit, who then reveals who the girl is destined to marry. That's how my sister Su Jin got matched with Chen Wan, an insanely loaded guy. When it was my turn, Su Mian, the coins had barely touched my eyelids, when a raspy old voice came drifting out of the ancestral grave. Kun 6 breaks the earth, stay still, do nothing, just lie there, and you'll win. The next morning I opened my eyes. All 7 copper coins were sitting neatly in my palm. At that exact moment, a royal decree for palace selection arrived at the Su family's front door. If the oracle says lie low and you'll win, then fine, I'll just lie low. Why would I bother fighting for the emperor's attention? There were already tons of gorgeous, talented girls ahead of me, every single one strutting around like a peacock in full display. Me? I was basically a half-asleep barnyard chicken at best. Win, and you're stuck dealing with an emperor known for being dangerously calculating, plus a whole harem of women who'd love nothing more than to take you down. Lose, and you're just rotting away in some forgotten corner praying to Buddha. Either way, not worth it. This oracle, it was basically a divine mandate dropped straight from the heavens. It became the guiding principle of my entire lazy lifestyle. I believed it. Or more accurately, I chose to believe it without a second thought. From that day on, I kicked off my dream life in the palace, eating, sleeping, and doing absolutely nothing. New palace girls were supposed to wake up before sunrise to learn court etiquette. I claimed I couldn't adjust to the environment and slept in till noon every single day. The etiquette matron looked absolutely furious. But since I was a low-ranking nobody living in the middle of nowhere, she couldn't be bothered. When a noble lady threw a poetry gathering and sent me an invite, I wrote back saying I was too unskilled and would just embarrass everyone. After a few rejections, nobody bothered inviting me to anything ever again. Skipped royal selections, called in sick every time I had to greet the empress. When the empress sent her head palace maid to check on me, I rubbed ginger on my eyelids to turn them red and played like I was half dead, sent her right back where she came from. Whenever the emperor randomly picked my dusty green tablet, before the eunuch could even reach my gate, explosive sneezing was already blasting from inside. The coughing was so gut-wrenching, even the imperial messenger felt bad. He'd always report back saying I was gravely ill, and that my condition might pose a risk to His Majesty's health. Meanwhile, the other consorts were tearing each other apart over scraps of the emperor's favor. Today you slipped something into my incense to make me lose my baby. Tomorrow I'll frame you for sleeping with a guard. Silent, invisible, but bloodier than any real battlefield. And me? I was chilling in my beat-up little courtyard right next to the cold palace, dragging my rickety lounge chair under the one crooked tree I had, soaking up the sun and sleeping like there was no tomorrow. My only complaint? The food kept getting worse and worse. At first there was at least some meat, then even tiny scraps of it disappeared. Greens and tofu and greens, watery and completely flavorless. So bland I felt like my taste buds were staging a full-on revolt. I kept dreaming about gnawing on a juicy roasted chicken, waking up with a soaked pillow every time. I was basically going green from hunger. Then one day, Consort Liu Yun's Persian cat went missing. This wasn't just any cat. A snow-white Persian named Shui Tuan, more pampered than most consorts. The moment Shui Tuan vanished, the entire palace went absolutely insane. Eunuchs with lanterns, palace maids shrieking Shui Tuan at the top of their lungs. The noise was everywhere and yanked me straight out of my afternoon nap. I stumbled out looking like I stuck my head in a blender, half asleep and fully done. Pushed open my creaky, barely holding together courtyard gate. A few young eunuchs were frantically searching along the wall outside. I snapped off a thin branch, crouched down, and scratched a few lines in the dirt. In my groggy, raspy voice, stop looking. Go to the southeast corner of the Imperial Garden, Big Rock Mountain, 3rd level. Find the gap in the rocks. Your cat's in there taking a nap. Every passing palace maid and eunuch stared at me like I'd just escaped from an asylum. The lead eunuch even let out a flat-out contemptuous scoff. I didn't care, I just yawned. Turned around, shut the gate, and got back to my nap. Less than half an hour later, my gate got knocked again. Polite, but urgent. Lu Wen was standing at my gate, holding a very relieved Shui Tuan. Behind her was a whole crowd of attendants, every single one holding their breath. The consort's face was cycling through every emotion, flushing red, going pale, suspicious, guarded. She asked, "How did you know?" I rubbed my sleepy eyes and leaned lazily against the doorframe, completely unbothered. I calculated it. Next day, my lunch came with a shiny, perfectly roasted chicken leg sitting right on top. A few peaceful days passed, and then Lu Yun was back, and this time she meant business. She stormed into my yard with a whole squad, demanding to know if I was behind it. Apparently, her rare peonies, brought all the way from the western regions, had all wilted overnight. Petals scattered everywhere, like every last bit of life had been drained out of them. I was crouched in the corner, completely absorbed watching ants drag a dead grasshopper, totally unbothered by the whole scene. Didn't even look up. I just pointed at the southwest flower bed. Dig 3 feet down. There's a voodoo doll buried under there. Liu Yun wasn't fully buying it, but ordered someone to dig anyway. A few strikes of the hoe later, out came a doll, wrapped in black cloth covered in silver needles. And written on it in red cinnabar, Liu Yun's exact birth date and time. The color drained from her face instantly. She went white as a sheet. I stood up and brushed the dirt off my hands. My eyes moved past Liu Yun and landed on one quiet, easy-to-miss maid standing behind her. It's that girl in your palace, the one who always wears a bright green silk dress. She always draws a little flower pattern right between her brows. Liu Yun spun around, and that maid immediately dropped to her knees, completely pale. Liu Yun marched out with her crew looking ready to destroy someone. That same night, they dug out a spy who'd been hiding in the consort's palace for years, planted there by her father's longtime political enemy at court. After that, my meals officially leveled up. 2 meat dishes, 1 veggie, 1 soup, plus a plate of delicate osmanthus cakes that were just sweet enough.